Can you love your kids the same if you have more than one?
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any favorites? So this is going to stir the pot.
Yes.
And
You're ready for when your kids start coming at you now.
so I think this conversation really covers a lot of the complexities in terms of parenting, the emotional bonds between the children, spoken and unspoken.
Welcome to another episode of Not Your Average Aunties podcast, where we keep it real, raw, and relatable,
While sharing our opinions and experiences.
and feelings.
We love the fact that you're joining in. You join in weekly with us. You've been doing this for more than 6, almost 7 months, 8 months, quite some time. Listen, we're getting traction. We absolutely love it and love the fact that you love that we're doing it. So
Yes.
we just want to keep the momentum going. So if you see something that resonates with you, I encourage you to like, share. It helps to get it out to the masses. And
yeah, if there's a topic you would like us to cover, let us know. Send us
comments.
emails, put in the comments. You can email us at notyouravergeauntiePodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
so the topic of discussion question is, can you love your kids the same if you have more than one?
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any favorites? So this is going to stir the pot.
Yes.
And
You're ready for when your kids start coming at you now.
it's going to stir the pot because a lot of parents like to say, and I'll be the first one to say, I love all my kids the same.
Yeah, you say that too.
Because I do.
I do too. Despite what they,
But I'm always going to stir the pot myself because, I like to throw a bunch of friends.
No,
It's on a podcast.
I'm just trying to make sure we're clear for the people out here.
So even though I do love all my kids the same, I want to, the question I pose out to the audience, the masses is, when people say to me, or I think, but do you really love them all the same? And it's like, yes, duh, I do. So I think this conversation really covers a lot of the complexities in terms of parenting, the emotional bonds between the children, spoken and unspoken. And there are some parents
that
do have favorites for sure.
Or they play their kids against each other.
They play their kids against each other.
Favorite this month, and you don't need they 7 months.
So I just don't believe in all of that. Yeah, I understand what it feels like. Some parents play favorites even when they don't want to admit it.
Okay.
And I just don't believe in that because I understand what that feels like. So,
meaning you've experienced it, or you just understand because you.
No, I talk about it, even from my grandparents. Also, because I grew up with my grandparents, right? Also, I've experienced it through that medium, and it's not a great feeling when you're not. Listen, I was a bad kid. I'll say it. I was the one that asked the questions when they didn't want me asking questions. I was the one that kind of had them on their toes when they probably didn't want to be on their toes, right?
So you felt like you were not being favored?
No, I was not. Except
you weren't being a badass. What you want?
No, I'm just.
They was all up in your. Listen, see, people think when they be in past ties that the parents are mad at them, they're not the favorite. No, they mean they love your ass. That's why they up.
Is it always didn't? They didn't care. No, I'm gonna listen.
Especially when you're being bad.
I can say this as an adult that my grandfather, between my grandmother and my grandfather, my grandfather did. I won't say he favored me. I only think, and I don't think it was a pity party thing. I think that he knew that with my grandma, she just didn't at that time. So I think he saw it, and I think he tried to compensate for it. Okay.
Probably got in trouble a lot of times in them damn bedrooms that night when you wasn't there. He probably got it because of your ass.
He was catching those strays.
Well, I think he got it for other reasons, but that's a whole nother comment. I don't even got it. I mean, he verbal whippings for other reasons, but I do believe there was overcompensating because at the time I think that my grandmother favored my cousin, and I think she favored my cousin primarily because A, he didn't live with her. I lived with them, and B, that was the only child from her daughter, and I know. And my cousin may feel differently, right? Okay. But I just know what I've seen, heard, and what I felt, So now as I've gotten to be an adult and grown throughout the years, I won't say that the favoritism shifted because I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say that there was a different appreciation for me from a child versus me as a young adult versus me as an adult.
She saw what her toughness turned you into.
Perhaps.
Yes.
But I still have to say, since we're talking about favoritism, I understand what it feels like to be the person that you do feel ostracized. You do feel, and that was on just one side of the family. Let's not even talk about the other side of the family where I was always fighting and carrying on and everything. So my grandparents it's almost like, when you go to school and you do something, one thing bad, and then the teacher always looks at you with, did you the one that did? And it's not necessarily the case, but that was a feeling I had on that side of the family. So listen, it is what it is. But I say the reason why I never wanted my kids to feel like I played favorites, because I understand what that shit feels like. It is not a good feeling. So that's long-winded, but I'm long-winded.
I feel like kids sometimes perceive certain things that you do or how you interact with the different, because let's be real here. Each kid has their own different personality, own mind, the only way they're doing things, the different ways you interact with them or how you communicate with them is very different child to child, right?
Yes.
So that doesn't mean you have a favorite. It's just what's perceived on the outside of the dynamic of this child with this child with this child. They could perceive favoritism that's not really favoritism.
Yeah.
Do y'all agree with that? So what do you do to ensure that your kids don't think you're favoring one over the other? What kind of things do you do?
I think it comes down to communication. I mean, a lot of it is basic, like just having that dialogue and understand. Like, listen, at the end of the day, you can do all these things to prevent it, but the child will still feel the way they feel.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's up to them to have the understanding or pick up what you're putting down when you communicate to them that this is, I act with Johnny this way, and then I'm acting with Rachel this way because Johnny needs this. Think about a kid with special needs or whatever versus Rachel. You may be self-sufficient. And that's the extreme. Because
because you got to take that for kids for families who don't have that dynamic, right?
Families who don't have it, still, the kid's going to feel the way they're going to feel until they understand what you're saying and they believe what you're saying. So it's a tough one.
Or you could have a kid like mine who tell her siblings that she's my favorite and they believe it because she keeps telling them this sugar honey ice.
I mean, I do have, listen, one of my kids used to do this to walk around, you're your favorite, I'm your favorite,
and I tell her that she's not my favorite. And her siblings seem to agree with her. But the reality is I love all my kids equally. I try to demonstrate that as best I can. I believe in one-on-one time with each of my kids. So I try to have that one-on-one time because they are different and they do have different needs. You have different needs from them as well. And I think that's the thing that makes them sometimes feel that the other one may be a favorite because you depend on this one for something different you depend on that one for. I just think that's just my theory. It could be one of the reasons why.
That's one of the reasons, but I don't.
So go ahead. We've been saying a lot. Joe, what you got?
I love my kids all equally, but unfortunately right now I'm assuming this is why we're all in different places in our lives right now, because they all felt that I favored one over the other. One thinks I favored the middle child over her. Both of them felt that I favored the youngest one over them.
Well,
that is not that way.
Like they get away with murder, so that's what the older kids. The youngest one get away with murder,
and it wasn't even that. And as years went by, I realized it was more of I was starting to get tired.
But they said that they said the youngest child appears to get away with a lot more because the parents are just tired by the time number 3 or 4 come. That you're not as stern or you're not as on them as you were with the first two, and that's statistically it shows that is true for most families.
In my situation, there was no booklet with this.
Nobody had the booklet.
Nobody had the booklet.
And the pages keep changing day after day after day.
It's just about how fast you read the booklet, how fast you write that shit. No one has it. Everybody has something different. So, right?
Unfortunately, my daughter did get more of the discipline than I did with the last two.
She's the oldest, right?
She's the oldest.
Also statistics, the oldest one is the toughest. All these things they say.
But all 3 of them can never say that I did not display attentiveness when it came down to sports, when it came down to school. Just in overall, we spent all our times together. I didn't choose one over the other to go spend time with. I spent all that time with them equally, but they don't seem to see it that way. And it's just sad now because trying to get each one of them to see that I love you. I have nothing but love for you. My whole existence has been about loving you guys and making sure you had some of the things that I didn't have growing up.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been difficult. So this is kind of a touchy subject for me. That's why I've been sitting here looking at you guys.
So do you think that there are ways that perhaps parents can unintentionally show favoritism? So, for example, spending more time with one kid than the other, being more patient with one kid than the other, or defending one kid more than you. Because those things, even though we are doing them, it can unintentionally send a signal to the kid like, see, you always doing this is this is what I mean. And then they always feel slighted. And I think sometimes that, I'm not saying you, I'm just asking, like sometimes, I mean, that could happen.
It's just crazy though, because if you're going to sit here and say that I'm showing more attention to one over the other, especially during a particular situation, but then turn around and say, oh, you're their mother, you're supposed to do that. I mean, what are you telling me? Either I'm supposed to be the mother and try to be there for them, or me just letting life teach them the lesson and stepping back. And then now I don't love them enough, or I'm not loving you guys enough because...
Yeah, I think that it sounds like it's a situational thing in that scenario. It sounds like it depends on what's happening at where that person is saying those things.
Yes.
So if it benefits them for you not to be there, then they're going to say opposite of you being there for them in the time of need versus when they're okay and they're good, but they know their sibling needs you right now. Why aren't you there? So it sounds like it's a situational thing. When you think about any scenario with your children, like the example you kind of gave right now, if you're defending a child or you're helping a child out more in this circumstance or situation, because that child needs that help right now more than this other child. It doesn't mean that this child is my favorite. This child just probably needs me a little bit more right now. And that should not deem them to be the favorite child. They just have a little bit more of a need.
Yeah.
And I think, if anything, we should all rally around as a family. It shouldn't just be the parent and the parents feel
in a situation like that, should be picking up,
helping out. So
when it comes down to the favoritism thing and just parenting and siblings and sibling rivalry and all that jazz, I just think there needs to be more communication. And then when that doesn't happen, I think more families need therapy than they care to admit.
Oh, I know we need it. I've been trying to suggest it, and
that more families need that I think it could help resolve a lot. Now, there's some ugly truths that could come out.
Yep.
And there's some things that can, but I think at the end of the day, when you do it, it could just help, just having that dialogue. And, that's what I think. I think that you can love your children equally, but have different relationships with them.
Absolutely.
Because
I think you're gonna, because they're different people.
Yeah.
And they're gonna do things differently. They're not all the same person.
3 different personalities.
Right. And they may not all live close by. So that also kind of dictates the time that's being spent, because think about that too. The time that's being spent with each individual child. As they become adults and they go out to live their own lives, the time that's spent with one versus the other may shift. You may have more time with this one than you have with that. Yeah. This person may not live in the same state with you, so you have more time with them. You may talk on the phone probably every day, or maybe not, versus you not talking to the one that lives close by on the phone every day because they live close by. So there's different situations of how the dynamics of a parent-child relationship builds and grows over time, especially when there's multiple kids. And if you're doing everything in your best power to show that your children that they all mean the same to you, then that's the best that you can do. How they interpret that is their own interpretation. Like I told you, my daughter, she you can't tell her nothing. You can't tell her she not my this. She can't do this with herself. Mine, she's a middle child, so she does have that middle child syndrome in her too. There are parents who do have favorite children. Yeah. We can't dismiss that. There are parents who do. They show it. They pit their kids against each other.
And that's the sad part. Yes.
I think that's so it's horrible. I struggle, and I know some people have difficult relationships with their kids. I get it. But I don't understand how. Well, actually, no. Maybe I do. I just I understand. I'd never experienced it, but I understand how you can have a child and maybe they're just so god awful that as they grow to be adults, you just
can't have
you
that.
tolerate them, but you just like I can't deal with it. And I don't have the experience of that, and I would pray that I would never get to that. I think I have really good relationships with all my children, but they're not children, they're adults. But I think even if you do have a kid that is god awful, there has to be some sort of accountability on the parents' side. Like, how did they get that way? What did you allow? Unless there was some kind of condition that they had, that's something different. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just people that are selfish or whatever the case may be. It's like there's got to be some sort of accountability.
What about instances where you have multiple children with different other partners? So that's 4 women. So you have a woman who has 2 or 3 different kids, and each of these kids have different fathers.
Okay.
And let's just say of the third child, they're with that third child's father. Do you think there's a possibility that this child's going to be the favorite child because this is the child where let's just stay together?
Sometimes that does happen.
Also, blended families. You have families that come together where the wife may have 2 kids and the husband may have 2 kids, and they bring these families together. Their kids are going to be the favorite because that's their kids.
Biological kid. It happens, though.
Or the kid that they had together.
And there's the 2 kids. So you got 2 husband and wife come together. It's like the Brady Bunch too. Yes, it's the Brady Bunch, but then they have a kid together.
Okay.
So now that child have together, child becomes a favorite parties at her kids and his. Sometimes that shit has on be but it's a possibility it happens. And that for me, I just don't understand how that can happen. I mean, no, it makes understand how it can happen. I just allow.
Just so like if I have my own kids. And I'm choosing to be with somebody who has kids.
Okay.
And then we have a kid together. Naturally, you got to build a relationship with his kids, right? But my kid's still going to show there's no favoritism here.
That's right.
We're building a relationship. We have a new family now. We all got to come together and love each other. While I'm building this relationship with them, that doesn't mean that I don't love you any less. I'm just trying to get connected with these kids. And I want you to get connected too.
Yes.
Now we have another child that comes into play. We're a family. We have to love each other as if we were together from birth, all of us initially. Like you got to take away the technical things out of it. The fact that he had the kids over here with this person and take all that stuff out of it. If that wasn't in play, then we would all be on the same level playing field. And that's how we should operate.
I should always be like that.
Right?
But some people don't operate like that. There's even cases where some women will have kids. Then she's no longer with the father, and then have the same thing, have a kid with another father who she may not longer be with, but has a decent relationship with that father. Doesn't have a decent relationship with the first father, and now
this kid's suffering.
They suffer, and it seems like some. It's just tough. Like there's so many different dynamics with this, and like there's so many different dynamics. But I think that a lot of people need therapy.
It would eliminate a lot of stuff.
There's argument there. I mean, people are so opposed to it. They think it's taboo, and that's something we really need to bring on. This if we find a specialist, like bring them to this podcast and we need to talk about that, because why do people still think that therapy is taboo?
Because they think it's weak.
Throwing that question out there. We're gonna find somebody. We're gonna bring this to the table because. Listen, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it only helps. It helps you figure out what the hell is going on and the things that you need to do to change the things that are going on in a negative way. So
I agree.
I just know, tell my babies out here on the live screen, I love all of y'all equally.
Yes, love all 3 of y'all. No change.
Equally.
No change.
Y'all own people.
Equally. Oh, I have another question.
Go let's start.
So, do you think that the child that's perceived the favorite by the siblings is going to be the one that's going to take care of you in your old age, or is it going to be one of the ones that we talking about? Oh, that's your favorite over there.
I kind of have an idea who's going to be but I honestly think all 3 of them, if they had the opportunity, they would. That's the one thing I can say with all the.
I think they'll be chaos over who knows best, but
that's happening right now. I think one would be more responsible than the other two. I hate to say that, but
Don't say that because they're gonna say you making you our favorites now.
I haven't said no names, and they're not gonna know who I think that way. But I honestly think all three of my kids, if they had the opportunity, they would if the situation came up.
Yeah, I agree, mine too.
Mhm.
I'm fortunate and lucky that way. Fortunate and blessed, not lucky. Fortunate and blessed that I know I can count on all three of them.
Mhm.
Listen, if you have some children, you have some children.
Chitlins, yeah.
Multiples, more than one. Biological or not biological.
Like check what you're saying sometimes. Like don't play favorites because that doesn't make them feel good, or love them equally.
Yes.
And
ask them why they feel that way.
and if they feel, you gotta ask them. They have the dialogue.
Mhm.
They have the discussion, you know.
Because they feel that way for a reason, right? So ask them why they feel that way. It may be something like you said. There's some things that you're doing unintentionally and not realizing it, and you don't mean to demonstrate that, but that's how it's coming off to them.
So if you have the dialogue, you can actually course correct before they become adults, and then things can get crazy. So
and they don't take care of you in your old age because they tell you go to your favorite.
They be the first to put you in that old folks home.
yeah.